Hey everybody, this is Pastor Dave Gable, Go On Assembly of God, back with our next message in our Proverbs series. This message is called Recomputing, and I really hope none of you have ever had an experience that looks like that picture. We all use GPS. Well, pretty much all of us use GPS, and we all have heard stories or have lived the stories of GPS taking you down a dirt road or down some path into the woods and seems to think that you need to keep driving when it's obviously made a mistake. So we're going to talk about those experiences and kind of tie it in with some verses from Proverbs in this message. Okay, this is a picture of an experience that people have had before, and this looks like a husband and wife, but it could be any pairing. This has happened to me in the past on a couple of occasions, and it's funny. So here's what happens. You're cruising down the highway 70 miles an hour, and you're maybe going through a city on a 3-lane, and suddenly you realize that you need to know right now whether or not you need to get off an exit. And maybe you've had that experience before where you get off the wrong exit or you get off too late and you end up down in the middle of the city where you don't know where you are, and you get turned around and you end up spending an hour and a half trying to get back to where you made the decision to get off or not get off. And what can be frustrating is when your co-pilot gives you the answer, and you know that that is not the answer you need at the moment, and it seems as though they should have that answer immediately, but they don't, and so that's a frustrating situation. A lot of times it's easy to pick on the girls in this situation, say, oh, every time we're traveling somewhere, my wife reads the map and they can't figure it out or whatever. Well, that may have happened to you. It's not necessarily universal, but I'm not going to say it hasn't happened to me. But most of the time that's because I ask for whether or not we're supposed to get off the exit when it's on top of me instead of maybe 10 minutes before saying, hey, why don't you check out there where we're going to have to exit this thing so we know ahead of time. But just to be fair, the flip side of this kind of looks like this. And that is a husband and father who, when mom was leaving in the morning, she gave you a couple of things that really needed to get done, including things like make sure you change the baby, or could you unload the dishwasher, or could you put this or that away, or could you get meat out of the freezer so we can have dinner tonight. And she comes home a bit later in the day and asks a very simple question, possibly related to the smallest of things that needed to be done, and suddenly gets this look, which is not encouraging to her. And it's very traumatic for him, for sure. But in both of these situations, I think we have kind of the same situation in a way. And here's my question. Here's a question I want to pose. In your everyday life, how concerned are you with the quality of the information you're using to make decisions? Now, these decisions could be simple ones or really life-impacting questions, like, are you really actively trying to make a difference in the faith walk of your kids? Are you spending time with your husband or your wife in really trying to have a healthy and happy marriage? Are you paying attention to your finances well? Are you paying attention to what you put into your body as far as food? Are you paying attention to those important things? Are you spending time getting to know Jesus, who he is, what his take on this whole world is, what his plan for your life is? Are you really spending time doing that? Or are you just kind of taking whatever information strikes you as interesting at the moment and kind of running with that? This poor guy right here was obviously, scrolling Facebook or something when his wife was on her way out and was not registering proper information. He was apparently not concerned about the moment right here when he was in the moment of his lovely wife walking out the door and leaving him in charge of the kids. And that's an important thing. It may have seemed not important when she was walking out the door, but now it's impacting his day and maybe impacting where he sleeps tonight, if you know what I'm talking about. So let's take a look at a verse from the book of Proverbs. Proverbs 3:1, 20 to 23 says, "Wisdom cries aloud in the streets. In the market she raises her voice. At the head of the noisy street she cries out. At the entrance of the city gate she speaks. How long, O simple ones, will you love being simple? How long will scoffers delight in their scoffing, and fools hate knowledge?" It's like it's right there to be had. God has made wisdom to be accessible. And don't forget again that the fear of God and a respect for him and a realization of where we stand before him and how we really fit into this creation is paramount. That's where wisdom really begins, is a proper understanding of where you fit in this created place. So the book of Proverbs says, wisdom, truth really cries out and wants to be heard. But are we even aware that it's there to be had? "If you turn at my reproof, behold, I will pour out my spirit to you. I will make my words known to you." Look at that. It's saying it's everywhere. If you would just turn, if you would just want to know, I'm more than happy to pour this knowledge into your life. Let's look at another one. Proverbs 2:1-7 says, "My son, if you receive my words and treasure up my commandments with you, making your ear attentive to wisdom and inclining your heart to understanding. Yes, if you call out for insight and raise your voice for understanding." Wouldn't it have been wise for the husband to say, "Oh, wait a second. What did you say there?" Or, "Hey, honey, could you text me that?" Or, "Could you write it down and stick it on the fridge?" That would be wise. "Yes, if you call out for insight and raise your voice for understanding, if you seek it like silver and search for it as for hidden treasures, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. For the Lord gives wisdom, from his mouth come knowledge and understanding. He stores up sound wisdom for the upright. He is a shield to those who walk in integrity." Let's go back to that guy for a second. He did not regard the words of his lovely wife as she was leaving in that little scenario as silver. He does now. He's realizing the treasure he let go of and the subsequent consequences that he has brought upon his relationship with his lovely wife. Neither are perfect in this situation. The scenario in the car, it's funny how valuable knowing where you are is as the exit sign is flying by. But how valuable is knowing that information 5 miles ahead before you're in a hurry? He certainly could have probably done a bit of a better job there, and now it's all her fault and not his own, right? We've all run into that type of a situation. Let's turn to James, book of James, chapter 1, verses 5-8. "If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given him. But let him ask in faith, with no doubting, for the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea that is driven and tossed by the wind. For that person must not suppose that he will receive anything from the Lord. He is double-minded man, unstable in all his ways." I think here James is telling us this has to be like a serious thing you're after. And in order to hear from God, I think it's obviously true that you need to believe that he's going to lead you and guide you and teach you. And the primary place he's going to do that is in his own word. There are so many times when we think of praying for an answer that's already been in his printed word for 1,000 years. Why do we do that? Well, part of it is because we just don't know what he said, and that's obviously a big problem, and that goes right back to our story. What kind of value do we put on the input information that is helping us make decisions? I want to challenge you, if the Bible has not been a priority for the guidance of your life, it really needs to be. Now, are there differences in personalities? Absolutely. I tend to be a person who remembers details. Not everybody's like that. But here's the deal. You can certainly know his heart. And you will know his heart primarily by what he has written in his word about his love for you, about the depth of your sin and your need for him, about the fact that he always knows what's going on and he has a loving plan. As Paul said, sometimes I find myself in jail. Sometimes I'm hungry. I've been beaten. I've been shipwrecked. I've been alone in the open sea for a night and a day. But in all those places, Paul also knew that neither height nor depth, angels or demons, any type of power, the present, the past, or the future could ever separate him from the love of Christ. That is life-changing. When God's voice and his word become that big in your life, they become your answers. They become the GPS voice that never leads you into a cow pasture, but always to the destination you need to go to. What would it be like to be that person that trusts God's GPS to lead you to the right place, even when you're not sure where he's taking you? I want to leave you today with just a short saying that I was struck with the other day, and I think it really does apply to life. Recognizing a good answer is more important than asking a good question. You know, our world today asks all kinds of questions that there really are good questions, like, how could there be pain in the world if God is loving? You know, there are actually answers for that, but they have so much more to do with God's heart and all that he says about us than making human sense of anything. You know, it's really not enough to be able to just ask a good question. You have to know how to recognize a good answer. And as Proverbs has taught us so far, it's not something you can kind of want. It has to be something you hunger for. You have to be concerned about the quality of the information that you're taking in. And when those things begin to become true, your healthy fear of the Lord, and that simply is recognizing the overwhelming majesty and power that he is just, that he judges rightly, and that he's in control of where you go, mixed with your understanding of his intense love, passion, and plan for your life. Those two things, when they come together, begin to form your life into one that follows him, one that loves others, one that becomes a shining light and the salt of the earth. I pray that in this series and in every series we do, you're encouraged always to take his word at what it has said, that you take what the Bible says in light of all of what he has said, that you have a balanced view of Scripture, and that you begin to know his heart and his plan for you in a way that you're so naturally drawn to his will and his way. That will change the world around you in subtle and surprising ways. Let me encourage you in that. Dig into that word every day, if at all possible. Make it a regular thing. Spend some time quiet where he can speak to your heart. And in all things, consider his thoughts and what his word has said. And blessing will come on your life. Might not look like money or ease, but his joy, his peace, the fruits of the Spirit will abound in your life. I can promise you that. I hope you come back again soon to hear another message. As always, you can contact us on Facebook, and we are honored as a church body here that you would make our little message here a part of your day. God bless you.